Good evening, people, and welcome to this special 1940s edition live chat I have going on tonight on my retro fun live streams. Tell you why I decided to do the 1940s. Well, I don't know if you folks remember last show I did, I was talking about forgotten 45s. And what I was referring to is hit singles and one hit wonders of the Gen X period. Some people thought I was doing 1945, which, as a war buff that I am and self proclaimed expert on World War II cinema, I pretty much can understand why people would have thought that. So, what I decided to do tonight was to do a live chat on the 1940s, as a lot of people seemed a little disappointed. And look who's already here. Tom the Hungry Jerk's here. Tom, great to see you. Lance Chafin says, hiya, Thrash. Lance, how you doing? Hoping you're feeling better today, guy. You guys are always first ones here. Great to see you. Love The Great Escape. I absolutely love that film. You know, it's actually based on a true story. It was romanticized by the American film industry, but there was a mass escape that took place in a German POW camp towards the end of the Second World War. Cindy D says, hello, everyone. Cindy, always great to see you. Thank you for joining us. John Collins says, hi, everyone. John, how you doing, buddy? So great to see you. And so let's see. Don't forget to hit those like button, guys. I have 5 people in-house and so far 0 on the like button front. I know we can do better than that. Yes, you can always do better than nothing. And Big Guy's 45 is here. He says, I'm here. So good to see you, big guy. I'm going to have to put my glasses on. I'm sorry. That little teeny tiny print always gets me. Tom says, a POW camp, no, in Poland. Was it actually in Poland? I know it was for Western prisoners. I can't, honest to God, I can't remember. I thought it was in Germany. Of course, the big difference between the actual story and the Hollywood version is while the Americans took place in the preparations for the escape attempt, all the U.S. airmen had actually been moved to other camps by the time the escape took place. But they didn't want to leave them out in the movie, so in the movie it was English and Americans. Cindy said, liked. Thank you. Everybody's saying hello, everybody. Oh, Big Guy says, I've learned that YouTube doesn't recognize new users and new subs, and that's why they delete them still. It's such stupid BS. Couldn't agree with you more. Also, let me know if this has happened to any of you guys, particularly you big guys. There are some people that I've noticed as new subscribers in my channel that I had seen as subscribers in the past. And there are a couple channels I've been on that I've noticed I've had to subscribe to. And I'm like, I know I've subscribed to these people. So I don't know what the story is, but I'm going to keep the old peepers on the old YouTube, if you know what I mean. John Collins says, Bob, you became a live stream channel. I must confess, I do more content live than in video. That's only because, one, I get way more hours this way. And two, I have been meaning to do more. Just I tend to make my daytime post during the day, and I've been very busy days lately. I'm not so busy much nights because the restaurant I work in, as you guys I'm sure are sick of hearing by this point, is closed for renovation. So I have my evenings off, but I'm always running errands during the day. And that's when I make my creepy classics, Richard recaps. That's when I watch movies traditionally to do my creatures of features or features of creatures, whichever you'd prefer. That's when I do my content stuff. But I got a couple things planned for over the weekend. It's going to be so cold up here in New England, I don't think I'm going anywhere. So keep watching. I got stuff for you guys coming up in the not too distant future. Big Guy says YouTube is an effing mess for many of us now. It's a rough patch, and we will all keep watching with breath, which is bated. Keith E says, all is good, no ice in Tennessee here. Have you guys seen the temperature projections for New England? Boston and Worcester, my hometown, Worcester. Can you say, my sister, Krista, got a blister where you kissed her? Anyway, Worcester, they've already closed the schools for tomorrow in anticipation of the deep freeze cold. Last I heard, Cape Breton Islands still has the schools going. I will keep an ear out in that case. But it is not only are you going to be in single digits, it's going to be in the teens below zero with the wind chill factor. Crazy, man. Jimmy Neutron is here. He says, hello, Thresh. Oh, and by the way, I saw that message you were referring to. It's very, very obviously a chatbot. So, oh, by the way, on the last post I made, there's this person who looks like they're some kind of economic guru. It's probably a spam bot, so don't get snookered. She does have a lot of people who've checked her out. I'm guessing they're all friends and followers of her, just trying to get us to clickbait it. But it's no comments on my content, so they're not really helping me or hurting me. So, but they might help my algorithm. So I'm gonna let it run. But don't think they're a friend of the channel trying to give you guys money advice. We don't do that on my channel. Never take money advice from me. I promise you. Big guy says, don't know. Forget to follow me on TikTok if you want. At Sparks Dude 1982. I'm gonna write that down. Actually, no, I don't. I don't have a pen. Sparks Dude in here. I'm going to remember. Actually, do me a favor. If you don't notice me checking your TikTok in the not too distant future, put it in a comment in one of my recent posts. Remind me. But Sparks Dude 1982, because my wife goes on TikTok all the time. I'm sure she'll think you're great. Let's just see. 1K here, I don't come. Think positively. Think positively. Mr. Led says, hey, Thresh and everyone, happy Groundhog Day. Phil says 6 more weeks of winter. Ah, yes, but Miss G, the Massachusetts Groundhog, says we're all good in the hood. Actually, here in PA, we haven't had much of a winter. We haven't had either, but it's going to get real cold real soon. Big Eyes says, let me go wild like a blister in the sun. Let me go on. Big hands, I know you're the one. I used to love that song. That's all the singing you get out of me today. Although, I gotta say, Violent Femmes' favorite hit, Children of the Revolution, even though I know it's a cover. A lot of people having fellowship. Les Javens had just had pizza. Was it Pizza Dogs? Jimmy Neutron says it's going to be mid-20s for the weekend for the high. Yeah, we're not going to see much of that either. Big Guy says my battery's running low, 36%, but I can still hang for a bit longer. Hang as long as you can, my man. Daryl Johnson says, Bob, other brother Daryl, how you doing, bro? Keithy says, I think we're outnumbered by the moderators. Don't anybody say anything. Oh, I think it's all good in the hood. John Collins says, Bob, I have a question. Favorite movie from each decade, 50s to the 90s. Put me on the spot, why don't you? So you go in my 1940s broadcast. You want me to talk about the 50s to the 90s? I'm going to have to get back to you on that one. I do have favorite films from each decade. I haven't put much thought into it. There's a lot of great films in each of those. Those are iconically great decades for film. So, you know what? I might have to do a show on that question. BK on the air says, hello there, big guy and everyone. We are dipping into the 40s here in Atlanta after a lot of rain. Make sure to charge that battery for next week. Certainly will. Certainly will. Way ahead of you. Looks like, shall I give the game away, Mr. BK? Oh, what the hey. We're all friends of Dave here anyway. That all but rhymed. This coming Wednesday, Dave is planning to, with his posse of nostalgia, going to do another retro palooza, this time on the Filmation cartoons. And BK and I are among the stalwarts. I bet you can guess who the rest of the team is. So looking forward to it. David talked about this before, so I'm sure I'm not giving anything away. But James Dye says, hi, everyone. Hi, James. Gary Carpenter says, I'm here. Hi there. Let's just see. Zublik says favorite film of the 1940s, Citizen Kane. Um, that's a good one. I think mine might be a different film. I'll let you guess what that might be. But let's just say in my top three favorite films of all time, I think you could probably guess two of them were from the 40s. A lot of people having fellowship. Jimmy Neutron says there are three groundhogs and they never agreed on their shadows. Well, at least two of them have to. Daryl Johnson says Sherlock Holmes movies with Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce. Love those when I was a kid. I absolutely love those. Baskervilles, I think, was my favorite, but that's because I had the book when I was a kid. Keithy says, waiting for Emily to arrive. She was excited about tonight's topic. Oh, yeah. Oh, speaking of which, Emily's here, says, hi, y'all. Yes, and I promised Emily something, and I will to all of you. I do have a special trivia game for tonight. And tonight, because maybe I tried too hard finding good trivia questions. Tonight, if people are having trouble, I'm going to provide hints. Yes, there shall be hints. I thought about doing that thing about giving you choices of four, but I think in my format that might take a while. So I'm going to give hints to questions that people have trouble with. Liz Javin says, hold that ghost, Abbott and Costello. Abbott and Costello came up with some great, great movies during this time period. Cindy D says, Key Largo and Casablanca. Casablanca is probably my favorite film. Although I think my all-time favorite film of all time, at the risk of being redundant, has to be Dr. Zhivago, and that was in the 50s. I really love Dr. Zhivago. But Casablanca, I stopped counting at 30. I've seen that movie well over, and when I say well over 30, it's probably closer to 60, because I stopped counting about 30 years ago. Gary Cameron says, I'm a huge Sherlock Holmes fan. Zerblick says, Abbott Costello, Meet the Mummy. That's another good one. I love the twist ending in that. Mr. Lynn says, I just had Southern Fried Steak, Denny's with lots of gravy. By the way, if I skipped anybody, I think I caught up. There was just a lot of fellowship questions, so I think I caught up. If I missed anybody, please repeat your question. I don't want to miss people. We had over 1,200 comments in my last chat. Jimmy Neutron says, for silent movie, my two are Nosferatu and Metropolis. Broken Blossoms, I think, is my favorite silent film, although I have a weak spot for Lost Continent. Les Jiffin says, Abbott Costello Meet Frankenstein. They hated that one. Did you know that? I thought it was great. They hated that one. They thought the humor was it went for cheap laughs and gimmicky laughs, and it was beneath them. Cindy D says, Thrash, greatest hints. Instead of hits, Thrash's greatest hits. Thrash. Emma Miller says, forget the hints. I'ma just need the answers. I will give you those too. Lance Chafin says, Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin scared stiff. Emily Miller says, add that thumbs up. Zuperlik says, what they say about Casablanca, more corn than in the fields in Iowa. Well, I liked your pick. You know my favorite anecdote about Citizen Kane is supposedly, and now you know, what's it, the guy, and of course, Kane is actually a composite. He's not just one person, but Hearst felt it was about him specifically, and there are a lot of points of similarity. He tried to pull the plug on the film, but supposedly they were both in some big building one day and found themselves stuck in the same elevator together and had what I could think of would be the most awkward elevator ride in history. And just when they got to the floor where Hearst was getting off the elevator, um, Orson Welles said to him, did you at least see the movie? And Hearst said, certainly not, and stormed out of the elevator. And as he was leaving, Welles peeked his head out of the elevator and said, Kane would have seen the film. And you know what? Yes, Kane, Charles Foster Kane, would have seen a movie about how horrible a person he was. So you got to give it to him. But anyway, yes, it's an excellent film, a masterpiece. Gary Carter said, Wizard of Oz is my ultimate favorite. 1930s. I thought about that, but The Wizard of Oz is from the 1930s. So Didi says, "Play it again, Thrash." That line was not even in the movie. Play it again, Sam. Yeah, they mentioned that in Play It Again, Sam, the Woody Allen movie. No, what Bogart says in Casablanca is, "Play it. If she can take it, I can." No matter how hard I try, I cannot do the Humphrey Bogart thing. You know, opinion is still divided on how he got that. I heard he was in the Navy in World War One, and a shell hit the deck, and a splinter got caught and did some minor nerve damage. But another one says after the war, he was escorting a German spy somewhere, and the guy tried to escape and hit him in the face with his cuffs, and that caused some tissue damage. But either way, oh, John Collins says, Bob, what is your favorite movie which blatantly discusses social consciousness? Ooh, ooh, that's a. Give me a second. That's a good one. I'll get back to that. Emily Lewis says, I think I'm the only gay person who didn't like Wizard of Oz. Yes, you are. Because I've known many, and they all like that. And I'm sorry you don't like it. Les Javen says Rosebud. Mr. Lynn says, yes, Bob, Casablanca is your fave. I would guess. Yes, it is. Les Javen says, play it again. And Gary Carpenter says, there's no place like home. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. Um, Emily says, I think the actual quote was, play it, Sam. Well, he says play it in two different spots. But the point is, he doesn't say play it again. He just says play it. And my favorite scene is when he's really drunk and he's starting to have like reminiscent dreams, and he just goes, play it. If she can take it, I can. Because that's when he's really emotional. Mr. Lynn says, The Best Years of Our Lives is a good film, if not a sleeper. I knew the man who was missing both arms. He actually retired to Cape Cod. And I think he'd actually moved to Needham or something before he died, but he was living on Cape Cod for years. He used to come into my video store. And I used to say to them, hey, we have Best Years of Our Lives. And he would think it was cute. He was a film buff too, as I'm sure you've deduced by the stage. Gary Cameron says it's supposed to be about Hearst. Yes, it is about her, but there were other moguls who also he drew from a number of different sources, you might say. Hearst was probably the closest one. Definitely, I'll give you that much. Emily Lewis says, "Oh, I guess he didn't say the name. No, he didn't say play it again. He did say Sam, but someone said lies. I just jumped. Super says lies all T-pawns probably. I'm a terrible liar. Not that, and I don't mean that I lie terribly. I'm terrible at it." Tom says, "Love Best Years of Our Lives." Gary Carver says, "Love your boogie." Yeah, Daddy-o. Oh, that's more 50s. But close enough. Jimmy Neutron says, if Ghost on the Loose and Brooklyn Gorilla from the 40s, those would be my pick. Excellent choices. Excellent choices. Crominion says, Thrash, M, Led, Keith, Lance, Gary, Zooper, and Hungry. And hello to you from all of us. Cindy D says, do the right thing, John. Gary Carver says, Yankee Doodle Dandy. A great eye. A Yankee Doodle Dandy. Lance Javen says, White Heat, James Gagney. Very good. That's a good pick. Imilmer says, I'm good, Lance, having a snack of dry cinnamon toast crunch right now. Stays crunchy that way. Lance Javen says, you dirty rat. Let's just see. James Dice says, aside from some of the classic horror films, I can't think of one movie from the 1940s that I've seen. Really? Well, how about some of the old war movies, too? You must remember this. A kiss is just a kiss. Gary Carver says, James, the Wolfman. Rabanera, I'm guessing that's you, Bobby. Says hi, host and most. I love how you always change your name before you come, and we always figure out who you are. Zubik says, I was referring to the stories about how Humphrey Bogart got his stuffed lip. Okay, if you've heard another anecdote, please let me know, because, like I said, the ones I hear are all anecdotal, and I didn't think they were true. But if you know anything, let me know. Emily Miller says, Lance, I've been eating for over 15 years. I've had it with milk, soy milk, almond milk, ice cream. I love Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Game Guy says, Gary Carpenter, yep, that was one of the classic horror films I've seen. Jimmy Neutron says, I like Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers, but those are from the 1930s. I believe both of them had something going on in the 1940s, too, though. Oh, Wajimeen just got here, says, hello, everyone. Hello to you, too, Wajimeen. And a lot of people having fellowship. Before I get too far advanced, I want to answer John Collins' question. A film which recognizes social consciousness, believe it or not, probably Pink Floyd The Wall. I love the subtle undertones of social commentary in Pink Floyd's The Wall. If you've ever seen it, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, watch it, you'll see what I mean. It's a rock opera. So you have to kind of extrapolate through the drama and the music, but you'll see exactly what I mean if you watch it. I should really do a retrospect on that. But anyway, John, to answer your question, Pink Floyd's The Wall. Emily says, I've yet to see The Wall, but I love their music. Pink Floyd was one of my favorite bands growing up. They were you know, when you're a teenager and there's that one band that you think they're speaking to you. And there were a lot of bands like that for me, but the one that really just sort of hit the chord, they like brought out my inner poet, was Pink Floyd. And I could have entered something about that because, of course, as you know, Roger Waters' father was killed at Anzio. Well, I could do another show on the 40s, I suppose, if you folks like this one. Mr. Lynn says Boogie also did Maltese Falcon in the Bogey. Oh, Bogey. I think you like Boogie, like the Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy of Company B. You mean Bogey, of course, with one G instead of two. The Maltese Falcon in the 40s, and I think the Big Sleep too. Was Big Sleep 40s or early 50s? Tom says I love The Wall. Cindy says never seen The Wall either. Emily Miller says they did the laser light shows several years ago, but I never got the chance to go. Me neither. Emily Miller says the Andrews sisters. Yes. And let's see, we're up to 17. When we get over 20, I'm going to start the trivia contest. And there's a number of, I have some on World War II, but also culture, pop culture, literature, music, and movies. So we'll all have a fighting chance to get at least some of them. Mr. Lynn says, I love the bogey period. I love bogey period. I love the bogey period. That is to say, the period of Bogart movies. And I love him, period. Me too. Crummingen says, I still have a collection of audio cassettes my grandparents bought me around 1980 of 30s through 50s radio shows. The Shadow, Green Hornet, Abbott and Costello, etc. That sounds amazing. Number one dude is here. Says, hey, Thrash, I'm late. Not really. Not really. I just started about 15, 20 minutes ago. And mostly we're just saying hi to everyone. But we're doing special 1940s topics this evening. Gary Carpenter says, Crow, I've got the Shadow series. Excellent. Gary Carpenter says, the Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy of Company B. A do. I'm sorry. I was born in the wrong decade, a century, planet. Lance Javen says, 9 likes, 17 in here. Come on, folks, hit that button. Tie. Cummingen says, I need to digitize them at some point, though the tapes are still in pretty good shape. They are until they aren't. One day I'm going to play them and they'll go. That's the problem. My buddy Rick, by the way, you heard me mention them when I was doing my thank you for my recent gift binge on the comic books. He gave me, among other things, he gave me a copy of Dagora, the space monster, and I was psyched because for some reason they've been talking about Dagora, like blowing up the web about it. And I went to watch it, and it went. It was Kaputnik. Bummer. Cindy D says, "Under the apple tree with anyone else but me." My grandparents explained to me that that's actually a naughty song. Adam and Eve with the apple. What she's saying is, don't be naughty with anyone else but me. It's not just, oh, they're sitting on the apple tree in the shade eating apples. No, they're being naughty. As my grandparents would have said it. And she's saying, don't be naughty with anyone else but me, or I'll get you. Anyway, Keithy says, at remind, hashtag remind, wrong channel. Number one dude says, great to hang with you all. It is so great to have you guys hang with me. I love when you guys show up. Tom says, just tipping a brew after work. Got to take my granddaughter to school tomorrow unless I cancel school, but I am dying for a beer. I'm having some over the weekend. I can't go out, so I might as well stay in and have some. This is a true story. I usually keep some beer in the bridge. It's not heated. So I took what was left in the bridge and I brought it into my house because I was afraid it would get so cold in the bridge that it'd explode. True story. I don't know why I even have my freezer plugged in. Gary Cameron says, I've got CDs of 40s music. Tom Limley says, hi, Thrash. Hi, everyone. Tom, so great to have you with us. Thanks for joining us. Keithy says, no, I was here when you came in. Z or Zuper or Super Bro, wasn't sure how to put it in Surrey tonight. Well, we're glad you were here. Jimmy Neutron says, I think Pink Floyd at Yankee Stadium. I believe they was the first band to play there, quite possibly. Crow Minion says, like when we watched the films in school and the projector mechanism would stop and the film would melt. Good times. I know. You can actually see it burning. No. I actually learned when I was in school how to put those back together. It's actually kind of simple. Tom says, imagine if she had a banana. Yeah, imagine. Cindy D says, LOL Thrash, I love music of your life, as they call it. Let's even hashtag Thrash Gordon. Thrash. I want to do a rendition of it. If I'll do karaoke, I'll do Thrash. Just a man with a man's subscribers and likes. I don't know. Ziblik says, I was referring to the giveaway, Keithy. We all know what you were referring to. We all met on Dave's channel. It's like, Tom says, hey, hungry sounds good. Gary Carpenter says, H-Day, you've got a dirty mind. Yes, it wants to be with our body. Crominion says, or the film would break partway through. You'd hear the whack, 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 whack. Yeah, I know, because it's the tape would whip it, baby. Mr. Lynn says, Wolfman also came out in the 1940s. Sure did. Les Jamin says, Glenn Miller in the mood. I have that on cassette. That's why I went through a phase in my life where I was into big band music. Keithy says, Oz Z, I get it now. Sometimes I can be a thick. Oh, it's okay, Z. I get it. Yeah. But I knew what you were talking about. I thought he did too. Well, in any case, we all know it now. Emily Miller says, Swing was some of the best music ever made. It certainly was. Cindy D says, sentimental journey. Let's gonna take a sentimental journey. Long nostalgia way. Gary Carpenter says, Pennsylvania 65000. John Collins says, an interesting movie plot would be a universe where former U.S. presidents would discuss goings on within the present reality of which they find themselves in, set in a dinner party as they drink. That sounds like something that Kubrick would have done. Love the premise. Lance Javin says, String of Pearls. Cindy Crimminion says, I have Sing, Sing, Sing by Benny Goodman on my MP3 player, along with a few others. But that's probably not that's probably my fave. Keith E says, Sing, 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 Sing was my favorite stage band song. Lance Javin says, Francis the Talking Mule. I love those. Les Javin says Bob Hope, Bing Crosby Road movies. Loved those. Crimminion says that is true. And Emma Miller says, anybody ever listen to Postmodern Jukebox? They take contemporary music and set it into jazz swing. Yes, I have. Pardon me. Jimmy Neutron says, I also saw the 20th anniversary concert of Iron Maiden, Judas Priest at MSG, Guns N' Roses with Metallica, among others. Ooh, good show. Gary Gabbard says, Chattanooga, choo-choo, come choo-choo me home. Zublik says, are there any chatters here who prefers swing music to rock and roll? There's no reason why you can't like both. There's two completely different sets of music, so I don't see why you couldn't like both rather than pick one or the other. Tom says, the road movies with Dorothy Lamour, too. Lance Javin says, the Andrew Sisters. Tom Lemery says, lots of music serials were in the 40s Shazam. I'm sorry, lots of movie serials were in the 1940s Shazam, Batman, Superman. One was in 1950, Green Hornet, Zorro, Jungle Girl, and more. There certainly were. Derek Carver says, Bing Crosby. Dominion says, I've heard of them, M. Lance Chavin says, the Three Stooges. How could you not love the Three Stooges? Gary Carver says, meet me in St. Louis, Louis. Lance Chavin says, the East Side Kids, or the Dead End Kids, between which studio. I actually had them. Dominion says, yak, yak, yak. Saintly! Woo, 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 woo. Gary Carver says, Little Brown Jug. Cindy says, meet me at the fair. I love that movie with Gary Carpenter. Zublik says, other great movies of the 40s are The Great Dictator. Love it. Grapes of Wrath. I finally read the book. That book has been on my reading bucket list since I was in high school. I finally read it. I love the movie, but the book is it's like 620 pages, I did finally read it. And of course, they had to change the ending for the movie. They had to. And The Maltese Falcon. I love a good noir film. So all those movies are absolutely amazing. And let's jump into the Bowery Boys. Yes, the East Side Kids, the Dead End Kids, the Bowery Boys. It all depends on which studio they're working in when they were making the movies. Mr. Lid says, Mr. Z, I love the music from the big band to metal, especially blues. Tom Lermy says, the Dead End Kids and the Bowery Boys. Tom says, the musical On the Town with Frankie Sinatra. Lance Javin says, Laurel and Hardy. Keith says, In the Mood song by the Squatting Chickens. Not familiar with that rendition. Emily says, Glenn Miller, Benny Goodman, and the Andrews Sisters. Love them all. Cindy says, film noirs in the 40s are my favorites. Seen so many. I love them too. Lance Javin says, James Dean, I don't think he started until the 50s. If he started in the 40s, somebody let me know. I don't think he started until the early 50s. You know what? We've been at 17 for a while, so you know what I think I'm going to do? I think I'm going to start the trivia game. What do you guys think? You guys want to start the trivia game? Yeah, Bob. Yeah, start the trivia game. You sure you want to start the trivia game? Yeah, sure, start the trivia game. Are you really sure? Please, please, please. Okay, fine. We will start the trivia game. And as always, I shall read them in no particular order. And okay, the first question is, what iconic 1940s crooner sang the 1942 rendition of Blues in the Night? I'll give you a minute. Frank Sinatra, sorry, no. There were other renditions. That's why I said the 1942. Oh, Lance Javin says the Marx Brothers. My mama done told me when I was in pigtails. Gene Kelly, no. Bing Crosby. Okay, I think at the Sigmund Freud. Okay. If you're going to swing wild. Okay, at this point, I'm going to provide a hint. This 1940s crooner also gave us the hit Minnie the Moocher. Yes, the 1942 rendition of Blues in the Night, or Train Whistle Blues if you prefer. But the same 40s crooner who also gave us Minnie the Moocher. Oh, folks, here's a story about Minnie the Moocher. I'm making my screen jump if it suits you. Tom Lerner got it. Yes, Cab Calloway. Cab Calloway was a 1940s crooner. He was actually a friend of my father's. Rest in peace, Mr. Calloway. But yes, Isaac Newton. I love these random guests. Chrominian says, being an Arizona native, I always liked the Dead End Kids movie. They made me a criminal since they stopped in Arizona, though it was actually filmed in California. Correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't the reason that the studios moved from New York to California was because back in the day they owed so much money? California was perfectly situated because you could either go to the desert and hide in Arizona from creditors, or cross the border into Mexico again to really hide from creditors. It was much easier to escape creditors. I heard that somewhere back in the day. It could just be a California Hollywood urban legend, but I liked it. It sounds plausible. Oh, and yes, now people are getting Cab Calloway. Excellent, excellent. My next question, and this is a World War II question. I suppose I should categorize them because in a decade there are subgenres. This last one was music and entertainment, and now World War II. And this World War II question is, what famous German naval ship sank the British capital ship, the Hood? I shall repeat. What iconic, I love the word iconic, what famous German naval vessel sank the British capital ship, the Hood? Das Boot, I love it. But yes, Superplex got it. The Bismarck. You see? I didn't even have to give a hint on that one. Cro-Magnon, the Bismarck. Okay, Keithy, the Bismarck. Yeah, a lot of people got the Bismarck. Okay, go, shoo. I was going to have to sing. In May of 1941, the war had just begun. Excellent. Oh, CDD says Double Indemnity, Mildred Pierce, Too Late for Tears, and Gaslight Superplex. All fantastic. You guys have some great 40s films, by the way. I love me some 40s films, and you guys are picking out the biggest. So I'll move on to my next question. And this one is films. And it's subjective. So you guys really should get this one. Name any two of the feature-length Disney animated films made in the 1940s. There were more than two, but just name any two Disney animated feature films made in the 1940s. And you should. I mean, this was the kickoff. Oh, Emily says, I'm lagging, or is this Thrash? Oh, am I lagging, or is Thrash? Am I lagging? Anybody? If I'm lagging, let me know. Oh, Form is Content is here. Hey, Form, great to see you. We just started the trivia game. Feel free to pick up on question 3. It's name any two Disney films, animated Disney films, that came out in the 1940s. Okay, a lot of people get one. Well, you know what? Tom said Peter Pan. Sorry. The 4 animated feature films that I have listed are Dumbo, Bambi, Dumbo 41, Bambi 42, Fantasia 40, and Pinocchio 1940. I don't think Peter Pan came out in the 40s. Song of the South wasn't animated, partial animation. And let's see, there was one other guess that. Well, in any event, those are the 4 that I have listed. So you know what? Anybody who took the shotgun approach, we'll give it to you. Okay. Ooh, here's a fun one, and this is also film. In what famous gangster flick does Jimmy Cagney yell, "Made it, ma! Top of the world"? I shall repeat. In what famous 40s gangster flick does Jimmy Cagney yell, "Made it, ma! Top of the world"? Angels with Dirty Faces, excellent guess, but wrong. That actually came out in the 1930s. Emily Miller got it. White Heat. You see, Emily, you were the one complaining that. Yes, Emily Miller got it first. A lot of other people got it as well. Jimmy Neutron said James and the Giant Peach. Love it. See, I don't even have to give hints. But moving forward. Oh, this is a World War II one. This one's a little tricky, so you're going to have to put your thinking caps on for this one. I will give you a hint if needed. But, okay, World War II, European theater specifically. So think Nazis, not Japanese. World War II European theater. What country inflicted the first U.S. casualties in the European theater? I shall repeat the question. The first American casualties suffered by the United States in the European theater were inflicted upon by what country? Suplex says Russia. Ooh, good guess, but wrong. Number one dude says Spain. Again, good guess, but wrong. You're getting close, though. Cindy D says Germany. No. Keith E says it's Polish. No. Emma Miller says Italy. These are all great guesses. Crominion says Italy. Jimmy Neutron says, is this the end of Rico? Puerto Rico? No, I'm sure they're doing very well. Mr. Let's says Canada. Yes, America fought a civil war, border war with Canada during World War II. Bobby Renee says Hungary. Okay, would you guys like a hint? I can give you a hint. Okay, the hint is they started on the Allied side and then supply. Tom got it. France. Yes, when America landed in North Africa, the first territories we attacked belonged to the French. And while they surrendered almost instantly, they did mount a token defense against the Americans. So the first American casualties actually were suffered by the French. I know, Crominion, sacre bleu. Jimmy Neutron says Canadian bacon, which is ham. Emily Miller thought I thought France was neutral. No, they actually started on the Allied side, but they surrendered. When they surrendered, part of France was occupied by the Germans. The free part was known as Vichy France, and they were technically neutral, but they were really it could be construed they sided with the Germans, and they certainly tried to defend the territorial integrity. So when America landed in North Africa, they defended it. But again, they surrendered almost instantly. But Vichy France is weird. It's like part Axis power, part neutral power. And then when France was liberated, they joined the Allies again. So France actually switched sides 3 times. Mr. Lynn says, aren't there French in Canada? Oui. Mon grand-mère habite Quebec. Oui. Gary Garber says, yes, France was neutral. Keithy says, worth of Vichy potato soup. Well, actually, Emily, speaking of Casablanca, remember they talk about that? How it's the Vichy French and the Germans show up and start dictating things. It was complicated. Oh, speaking of Humphrey Bogart, this is a film question. What 1943 Humphrey Bogart war film depicted the conflict in North Africa? I shall. Oh, you know what? Oh, Emily just said she's never watched that film. But I will repeat. What 1943 Humphrey Bogart war film depicted the World War II conflict in North Africa? Emily Miller says African Queen. Great guess, but no, that was World War One. Bobby says Casablanca. No. Well, a lot of people saying African Queen. Humphrey Bogart was in it, and it was about a war with Germany, but that was World War One. In fact, that was the Germans built that gunboat in Lake Victoria. That all takes place in German Tanzania, I want to say, during World War One. Mr. Lynn says Casablanca. No, Casablanca is also wrong. I'm sorry. Caine Mutiny, again, World War II, again, Humphrey Bogart. But no, he's in the Navy on that one. Cindy says, these are hard, Thrash. Go back to music trivia. Criminian got it. Criminian got it. I was just about to give a hint. And he goes, ooh, Sahara. Yes. That one was a little tricky. Casablanca came out in 42. That's why I said 43. But yes, I was specifically referring to, because you don't see any war going on in Casablanca. They talk about it, but the Americans haven't even joined the war at that stage. In Sahara, there's actual fighting with the Germans and the Italians on one side and everybody else in the world on the other. So yes, Sahara, very good. Grimmy says, just thought of it. Bobby Reddy says, well put, jerk. Jimmy Neutron says, just to clarify, I play for fun, not to win. Much stress on my mind and in the area I live in. Oh, I'm sorry. Too much stress on my mind and in the area I live in. Yeah, don't sweat it. Like I said, I don't even give prizes. This is a game. And my questions are really obscure. I'll try to find less obscure questions. It's just hard to find things I don't know. I'll just see. Emma Miller says that makes sense. Thank you. Tom says, I will recommend something. Oh, Lance Chamber brought up a good point. Where's Tracy at? Yeah, where is she? Number one dude says, sweat the small stuff. Yeah, the big stuff will take care of itself. Gary Carpenter says, Toya. She actually someone suggested that. What was it? Her. Oh, Music Girl 67 was supposed to show up too, but in any event, we will play in their honor. Edmund Miller says, I only know 2 people in the military during World War II, and they're both dead. Rest in peace to both of them. Cindy D says, and thank them for their service. Cindy D says, you know everything, Thrash. Well, I try. Oh, Edmund Miller says, my grandmother was in the USO. That's too cool. Mr. Led says, Tokyo Joe. Kevin Scott 76 is with us. Hello from Huntsville, Alabama, Rocket City. So glad you are here. A lot of people saying hello to Kevin. Kevin, you're here for basically the last half of my special 1940s edition trivia game, but it's okay. There's no prize. So, but and also as a new service, because some people have charged my questions being a little on the difficult side. I also, if not enough people get it or people don't get it in timely fashion, I give hints. Oh, John Bernstein is here. Hi, folks. I'm late again. No, John, you're right on time. So glad you could make it. We're just doing the second half of my trivia game, but I'm very, very glad you could make it. Romanian says, my maternal James was in the Army Air Corps in India, part of China, Burma, India Theater, the CBI. CBI. So he would have been under Joe Stilwell, wouldn't he have? Emma Miller says, that's how she met my granddad. She was already married. Never divorced her first husband. It was the war. Things happened. Kevin says, my grandpa was an artillery captain, 3rd day of the day operations, Cobra Bell, the Bulge, Liberation of Belgium, Purple Heart, Bronze Star. My father-in-law was artillery as well. I wonder if they knew each other. Crazy. Small world. Number one dude says, hit the like button at Thrash Pondo Ponds. Please do. Gary Carter says, Jimmy Stewart and Leslie Howard. Tom says, had family that fought for America, Canada, and Germany. A lot of people of German ancestry had people who fought on both sides. I'm sure I had cousins, distant cousins, back in Germany who fought on this German side. Jiblik says, how many of you had parents or grandparents in World War II? Grandfather. Oh, and my father-in-law. What Jimmy says, my granola was in World War II. I assume he's my grandfather. John Burns says, my grandpa was a private at Anzio. Wow, that's amazing. Creminian says, old Vinegar Joe. Yes, Joe Stillwell. John Collins said, recently I went down a rabbit hole. I watched 3 TV anniversary specials the broadcast networks had produced. Talk about the nostalgic overload because so many people who appeared have since passed away. I know, right? I know. Emily says, my uncle has a child somewhere overseas when he went to Vietnam. That happened a lot. Tom says Jimmy Stewart was a retired general. He was. In fact, if you watch The World at War, which is, in my opinion, the definitive World War II documentary, they actually bring him. He actually is he gives testimonials. He's actually one of the experts they talk to. Zublik says, what service T-Pawns? My grandfather, I believe, was an MP or a guard, but regular army. And my father-in-law was artillery. Number dude says, John calls, did you find bugs down there in the rabbit hole? No, just carrots. Jimmy Neutron says they should make a movie of Mortal Kombat as a rom-com buddy movie. I can see that. Keith, he says, my father was a buck sergeant in the army. Gary Cameron says, my grandpa never went in. He was too old. Tom Henry says, great uncle was the Air Force. Flew B-17s. That's crazy. Lance Javen says, bye. Not feeling the topic, but thanks anyway, Thrash. Have fun, guys. I'm sorry, not feeling. Who knows? You may change your mind. Tell you what, stick around if you want to. If you do check out, feel free to come back. We should be doing this, I'd say, for at least another 45 minutes. But Lance, thanks for joining us. I'll talk to you on Facebook tomorrow if I don't see you tonight. Kevin says maybe they didn't know each other. Captain Sylvan P. Lay, 7th Corps. I get more details if you want. I'll talk. 7th Corps. I'll check with my wife. She knows where her father served. But yeah, that'd be interesting. Mr. Lynn says, remember the History Channel used to show his actual history? Yes, I do. Bobby says, host, please don't read that, though. I hope I didn't already read it. I'll just see. Corominian says, I have some German ancestry, but I don't know if any family who went over to the German side in World War II. Who knows, though? Well, I mean, like I say, most people who are of German ancestry had family back in Germany, and they could have been drafted. I'm not saying they were Nazis; they could have been drafted into the war. That happened. Zublik says, "What did your grandfather say about the war?" T-Pawns never talked about it. Never talked about it. In fact, my father-in-law only talked about it on his deathbed. When he was in the hospice, my wife went to see him, and it was right before he died. He died actually late that night. We went to see him in the afternoon, and he like grabbed me by the arm, and he told me that he was actually at the camps. He was at the liberation of one of them, and like my blood ran cold. And as we left, I told my wife, I didn't know that your father was at the camps, and she goes, I didn't either. He never told us about that. But I guess on his deathbed, he just decided that he had to talk about it. But like most veterans who saw nasty stuff, they tended not to talk about it. But he was a great man. Both my grandfather and my father-in-law were great men. And on that note, how about we pick up the trivia game? Oh, this is a fun one. Okay. This is like music and culture. What music group served as the template for a later TV show, Charlie's Angels? And I shall repeat. Yes, what vintage 1940s musical group would later serve as the template for 70s iconic cop show Charlie's Angels, and right out the gate, Emily gets it. The Andrews sisters. Yes, do you know that story, Emily? Well, you might, but for those of you who don't, when Aaron Spelling was in the army, he was part of that creative people core, like Stan Lee and a lot of the others. They took people with creative abilities and they put them in this core, making propaganda newsreels and cartoons and other things. And supposedly, the story goes that Aaron Spelling he had a crush on the Andrews sisters, all of them. And I don't, if any of you had ever heard the old anecdote that maybe like Shirley Temple did during the USO shows, when she was actually tapping Morse code and sending code to the underground. Anyway, Aaron Spelling came up with this brilliant concept. The Andrews sisters were a USO tour group and going around entertaining the troop, but they were also OSS agents secretly going out and finding and killing Nazi agents. And he had this whole idea for a serial where three beautiful entertainers, when they weren't entertaining the troops, would go out and thwart Nazi schemes. And he shelved it because nobody wanted it. And 30 years later, of course, there wasn't a war going on. So he said, how about instead of making them secret agents, we make them ladies cops? And Charlie's Angels was born. But yes, Charlie's Angels was the answer to that. John Bernstein says Jimmy Stewart was a brigadier general, even though Reagan always introduced him as a major general. I had a question about that. It's my understanding, and I'm not sure exactly how it worked, but after Jimmy Stewart retired, didn't he get like an honorary promotion? So both would be right. I could be wrong about that, but I thought I heard that somewhere that he was actually granted a sort of an honorary promotion in his last days, which may have been why his friend Ronald Reagan introduced him like that. John Bernstein then goes on to say, oh, and a lot of other people getting the Andrews sisters, accent Gary Carpenter as well. John Bernstein also says it wasn't until AMC introduced him as brigadier that Reagan asked Jimmy about it. He said the promotion sounded nice, so I remained quiet. He was finally promoted to major general when he retired. Oh, okay, so you go on to answer my question. Thank you. I should have kept reading. Thank you, John. Let's just see what we've got going on here. Cindy D says it was supposed to be called the Alley Cats. Kate Jackson changed the name. Really? I never knew it was called the Elk. I never knew that. Kevin says, yeah, my grandpa would always say you don't want to hear about it. But when he was really old, he just looked off and said so bodies. Said so bodies? Zublik says, did you know John Ford served in the OSS? I did not know that. Zublik says, so did historian Crane Britton. I didn't know that either. Mr. Lynn says, Thrasher mic kicked off. Is my mic off? Can you people hear me okay? If you guys can hear me now, let me know. If you can't, let me know. I'll figure something out. Jimmy Neutron says, message retracted. Kevin Cameron says Andrew sisters are an early version of the Spice Girls. Yeah, definitely. Jimmy Neutron says message retracted, and a message retracted to you too. Cindy D says the Pointer Sisters reminded me of the Andrew sisters. I can see that. I can certainly see that with the tight harmonies and everything. Yeah, Andrew sisters, rum and Coca-Cola. Jimmy Neutron says, can we skip talking about the war? It's depressing. Yes, we can. Sound is fine. Good, we can hear you. Good. Tom Lemmy says Cindy D. Kate saw a painting of three angels in Spelling's office. Then it changed from Harry's Angels, but there was a TV detective show called Harry. Oh yeah. There's a bell ringing in my head with Harry O, the guy from the Fugitive, David Jansen. So yeah, he didn't want to confuse it with the two. John Brennan says the only person I can't hear is my wife. Mr. Lid says, I can hear you just barely. Maybe it's just my service. Remember, we went through that before. Because it seems like other people can hear me okay. Loud and clear, Gary Carpenter says. So let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. We're going out of the frying pan into another frying pan as far as depressing goes. This is also a short story literature, so a cultural question. What 1948 short story deals with human sacrifice? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be so depressing. Yes, what 1948 short story, American short story, deals with human sacrifice? Ooh, Animal Farm. That's a good one, but wrong. Zoom. Wow, right off the gate. The Lottery. Shirley Jackson's The Lottery. Big S 45 says, good night, everyone. Don't know why I'm not gone yet. And what was the one last time? What was the name of your channel on TikTok? Well, if I have to scroll back, I'll scroll back. But anyway, if you remember, please let me know. John Collins says Hansel and Gretel. Brian Pons is here. My cousin, Brian. Hey, cousin, just wanted to stop in and say hi. I'm logging off, but hope you have a good night. Brian, I was just thinking about you the other day. If I'm ever up in the Plymouth area, I gotta give you guys a jingle. We could all go have lunch or something. Say hi to your bros for me. Say hi to all our uncles in the Plymouth area, Joel and Russell. I was just thinking about Russell the other day too, by the way. So glad you stopped by, cuz take care of yourself. Peace. John Burton says, I know it's a British short story. Oh, American, actually. And Zuplik's already got it. It's The Lottery. Mr. Lynn says, I have to say goodnight, folks. Unfortunately, I can't hear. I'm wicked sorry. I'm sorry you're having trouble. But Mr. Lynn, I'm very, very glad you decided to drop in. A lot of people saying hi to my cousin Brian. That's very kind of you folks. TikTok, Sparkle Dude 82. Sparkle Dude 82. I will commit that to memory. Sparkle Dude 82. Got it. And let's see, Bigfoot and Wild Boy. You got it. Now, and don't forget to follow you on TikTok. I will follow you to the ends of the earth, as the saying goes. And Eleanor says the lottery kind of sounds like Hunger Games. Ooh, I never thought of it that way. You know, I never thought of it that way. Huh. It's more like if instead of the Puritans settled America, what if it had been the Druids? And it just shows how easily that type of activity could like just settle into American society. It's almost Highland-esque in its a way of saying, do we are moral things moral, or do we just do them because we're told they're moral? Oh wow, Jimmy Neutron says Marilyn Manson did a video based on the lottery story. I'm gonna have to check that. I did not know that. There's a lot of versions. Oh, Brian says thanks, y'all. Thank you, and thank you for stopping in. By the way, so great to see you. You know, we're on Facebook, and I'm always ashamed. Like, you know, he's right there. I could. I'll stay better in touch, Brian. I promise. John Burton says, well, it wasn't written in 1948. That was 1984. Very good. So Lottery wasn't written in 48? It was around there, though. So it was like 1947, maybe? Well, anyway, or were you just being glib? Sparks Dude, 1982, not Sparkle Dude. Sparks Dude. I thought Sparkle Dude sounded wrong. Sparks Dude, 82. So not Sparkle. Sparks Dude, 82. I will erase the past memory and put in the proper one. Number one dude says, Tom still here. T. I was saying late to Thrash's cousin. Oh yeah, a lot of people saying goodbye to Brian. So that happens a lot. You'll say goodnight to somebody, so people think you're leaving. Like, no, I'm staying. You can't get rid of me. But yeah, I have to check out that Manson video. Zuplik says lottery was like Squid Games. Yeah, I can see that too. Gary Carpenter says, or the Vikings. Evan Miller says, but on Squid Games, they volunteered. Another good point. Tom Lungendrick says, how's the weather up in your area? It's getting cold as we speak. Oh, Evelyn Miller says the lottery was first published in 48. Thank you. Yeah, I think that was like a I thought it was a joke, but I wasn't sure. Let's just see here. John Burton said, Lost is a remake of The New People. That blew my mind when I found that out. I actually looked on YouTube. The only thing I found on The New People was like some like promotional trailers. But you're right. It was like really. And there was another one. I know I didn't dream this. Sometime, and I would say the mid late 70s, there was a TV show about a plane which crashed somewhere in the ocean, and the people are trying to survive. It may have only had the pilot made for TV movie, but I remember I liked it because there were actually some kids my age. They would have probably been like 9, 10, 11 in it. And for some reason, I'm the only person who remembers this show as well. But no, it wasn't The New People. The premise of don't they accidentally land on an island that was like nuclear testing in the 40s or something? Well, it was a great idea for a show. I don't know why it wasn't picked up. Bobby says, I thought Charlie's Angels was about my past life. John Bernstein says, used to love that show. Suplex says, The New People was a failed series. Yeah, I've only found some promotional material on YouTube about it, but it looked good. Gary Carver says it's raining here in North Carolina. John Bernstein says, I believe that was People's Island. Okay, thank you. I'm going to check that one out. People's Island. I will check that out. Thank you. Jimmy Neutron says Earth 2. Wasn't Earth 2 one of the Dylan Hunt saga pilots? Roddenberry's attempt to get the whole Dylan Hunt story. So, again, The Fugitive with a sci-fi backdrop. But yeah, there was 3. There was Earth 2, Planet Earth, and Brave New World. And only the last 2 had John Saxon. The first one was Alexander Cord, I believe. John Collins says, Bob, do you think fables like Hansel and Gretel were meant to have a positive moral, or did they marched out to the explain to children how difficult it was going to be in the future? Generally speaking, I think they were cautionary tales. I mean, what's the bottom line of Hansel and Gretel? They're not supposed to go off into the woods too far from home so they get lost. What do? They go out in the woods and get lost. You're not supposed to take candy from strangers. In this case, the stranger is a witch. It's all the things you're not supposed to do. Parents say don't do things. I have a few theories on lake monsters, so I don't want to confirm or deny anything now. That's a whole other show, which I'm going to be doing someday with Mr. Dan. But some people say the origins of lake monster stories were trying to convince children not to go into the water too deep. They could swim in the shallows, but if they go in too deep, they'll drown. But I won't drown. I'm a good swimmer. Okay, there's a monster in there. Oh, okay. That they'll believe. Tom says, what kind of life? What kind of life causes me pain and sorrow? John Bernstein says, Earth 2 was a remake of Genesis. Genesis, that's it. Earth 2, Genesis, and Brave New World. Not Brave New World. Whichever the other one I said. Cindy D says, Rumpelstiltskin, my favorite fable. Rumpelstiltskin's not my name. Cruminian says, Alex Cord from Airwolf. I haven't seen Airwolf in so many years. Yeah, maybe, possibly. Zublik says the New People appeared more or less at the same time Storefront Lawyers and the New Rebels appeared. They were all about rebellious youth. Seemed to be a theme in the early 70s. You know what? I got one last question. Let me read this last question, and then I'll get knee deep because the comments are coming in Fast and or Furious. So sorry, it's a World War II question, and no one's going to get it because it's my favorite and it's very obscure. What was the Japanese attack code to proceed with the bombing of Pearl Harbor? For those of you who've seen the final countdown, you might know it, but I'll repeat it. What was the famous code of the Japanese Imperial Navy, which meant to proceed with the bombing of Pearl Harbor? Kevin says Gilligan's Island was a precursor to Star Trek Voyager. Tom says Rapunzel, Reputa. John Burnton says eventually redone as Quester and Logan's Runs. The Quester tapes? Well, Quester tapes and Logan's Run were also The Fugitive. But I don't know if either one of them had anything to do with the Dylan Hunt saga. Kenneth Wilkinson is here and with us. Good evening, Bob, Kenneth. Sorry, I was talking to Kevin a second ago. Kenneth, so great to see you. Form is content. I have the same theory about some superstitions, like breaking a mirror, causing bad luck. Mirrors were expensive, and kid might not understand that. Excellent point. Very, very good. Love it. Not to mention broken glass. There's a couple things most people don't think of with broken glass. Not only is it very, very sharp, but it's clear. So when you get broken glass in a cut, it's a real pain to get it out because it's hard to see. And it also causes really nasty infections if it gets coated with dust. So if a mirror breaks, broken glass goes everywhere. You can cut yourself. There's a very famous story about a it was some princess or some noblewoman who she kept crystal glassware, because she had learned somewhere that any poison will give off a scent if you drink out of this certain crystal. And she was afraid that she would die from an assassination. Well, one day a servant dropped one of the crystal glasses and it went everywhere. And don't worry about it, sweetheart. They cleaned it up and they missed a shard. And she stepped on it and cut into her foot. And it caused an infection and it went septic and she died. So, yeah. So broken glass can be dangerous as well as expensive. Let's just see. Bobby says, Ken, how's my Barbie? But I'm bummed. Tug is here. How you doing? The Unapologetic Geek says, just popping in briefly before dinner. Hi, all. Tug, it's always great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. Didn't get a chance to watch a new video today. Will tomorrow. I promise, guys. If you haven't checked out Tug's channel, do so. He's going to be done with The Outer Limits before you guys even check it out, although I'm sure many of you already have, so please do. Number one dude says Kamikaze. Good guess, but wrong. A lot of people saying Tora. Yes, that's an excellent guess. Not quite. That was their battle cry as the planes went in. They went, Toya. But no. Jimmy Neutron says there was a show with the puppets and they did the satire especially. I believe it's either DC Follies or Spitting Image. It's one of those two shows, I'm sure. Tom says the Tanaka Plan. That was actually World War One. Wait, no. One was World War One, one was World War Two, but no. Corbinian says, yeah, he was Michael Goldsmith Briggs, Archangel and Airwolf. He had one eye, and his glasses had dark lenses. Okay, thank you. Yes. I haven't seen that show in so long, but yes, you are correct. Dave Claroni is with us. Dave, how you doing? So good to see you. We're just wrapping up the... Oh my gosh, Emily got it. the woman who said that she was having the toughest time did. I think you got more questions right tonight than anyone else did. I'm very, very proud of you. The Japanese Imperial Navy's code to the task force attacking Pearl Harbor was climb Mount Niitaka. It was a signal for war to commence. And those are all 10. And you know what? If you had fun, you had fun. Don't even bother keeping score. I know I had fun coming up with them, and I had fun reading them to you. So I don't know what I'm going to do for the next one, but like I said, I like the idea of giving hints. So if you guys had fun, great. So let's see, where were we? A lot of people. Oh, what do you mean got 0 for 10? I'm so sorry. Not much of a World War II buff. Very, very sorry. Emily Miller says there were only 3 things I knew about codes: the 2 I mentioned and the winds code. I knew that wasn't it. Well, I'm glad you got the question right. Cindy D says, I didn't keep score. Not good tonight. I'm sure you did fine, Cindy. But again, I'll keep giving hints. Tom got a few. Excellent. Kevin got MSG. Don't have too much. It'll give you high blood pressure. John Burton says the Navajo talkers. Yeah, I saw the film about that. Emily says, I think I only got 3. I thought you got like 4 or 5. But anyway, if you had fun, that's all that really matters. Crummington says, I always remember in Toya, where the flight instructor and students are suddenly in the midst of a bunch of zeros, LOL. That was crazy. Yeah, it's the woman giving the training flight. Suppose that's a true story, and the zeros just kind of come around her, and they just kind of they ignore her because they're busy, they don't have time for her. So yeah, supposedly that's a true story. Cindy says regrets. I've got a few. Number one dude says F plus. That's better than F minus. Gary Carpenter says I still had fun. John Burnton says I don't get them right on purpose. Go big or go home. Tom says, I had fun too. Gary Carpenter said, The Winds of War, which also had Jan Michael Vincent. The world needs more Jan Michael Vincent. Crow Minion says, Yep. Keith E says, I didn't keep track, but I felt more coherent tonight. What you mean says, I had fun though, LOL. Emily says, Cindy, as long as you did your way. I did it my way. Jimmy Neutron says, when I see a pile of salt slash MSG, it reminds me of the 80s, LOL. It reminds me of my buddy Lot's wife, to which I always said, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. John Collins says, Dave Sundstrom's new presentation is fun, cozy nostalgia. Please watch it. He deserves your patronage. What John says. Cindy D says, I thought you would have questions like B. Arthur being a pilot, etc., more pop culture stuff. Again, I only got to keep it to 10, but I could come up with more obscure questions in the not too distant future. Gary Cameron says, JC, when is going to have it? Cribbington says, LOL, she was the pillar of her community. Emily Miller says, when I see salt, I figure someone has ghosts. Okay. Tug says, Crow. And then Crow says, Tug. Cindy says, too obscure, I mean thrash. I can get really obscure. In fact, buddy of mine, I was just talking to him tonight. Known him for 40 years. He had a band, a punk band in high school called Obscure. Zublik says, wasn't B. Arthur born a man? Superplex be nice. Emma was like, no, Superplex. Keithy says, 2 peanuts walking down the street, one got assaulted. I think I stole that from someone. Yeah, me. Of course, I stole it from Monty Python. 2 peanuts were walking through the park late one night. One was assaulted. Gary says, Z. No, of course not. Kevin says, you could do plots of Star Trek episodes and name the title of the episode. Ooh, I could do that, couldn't I? I should. All the Trekkies I got, I should. You know what? I think I'm going to do that next. Because I love me some Star Trek. I am. The next trivia game I do is going to be Star Trek episodes. And I'll give a brief plot synopsis, and you have to name the episode. John Burton says she was switched at birth with Paul Lynde. Why do you live in a cave? Emily says I wouldn't have a chance with that one, Kevin. Gary Carpenter says Julia Child was a pilot. I thought she was a spy during the war. Tug says I can do that. I bet he could. Cindy D says I'm not a Trekkie. Zerblick says Paul Lind and Bruce Valanche. No more dude says the Next Generation. Tug says although I do better with Next Generation DS9 than TOS. I knew it. I knew what you meant. I knew what you meant. But you know what? I think actually I'm gonna think about doing it. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. We should try that. Good looking honky says Thrash. Hi, Peter North here, old adult film star return. Great story tonight. Nice to see you. Tom says, I hope it's TOS. I think I'm going to go with TOS. Gary Carpenter says, good. Jimmy Neutron says, look at my previous post. Emily says, I've never paid attention to the titles of episodes. I just watch them. Ooh, that's a good point. A lot of people would say, oh, that's the one with the blah, 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 but they don't know the actual titles. I still think it could be fun. You know what? Maybe I'll do it. Maybe if I can think of something a little more inclusive, I will. Crummian says B was a Marine Corps reservist in World War II, Women's Corps, or whatever they called it. Wax, I want to say. Wax on, wax off. Emily says, Peter, where have you been? I've missed working with you. Tug's laughing. John Burns says, say hi to Hypatia Lee for me. Zerblick says, B had more cojones than Arlie Ermy. Cindy says, whack. I thought I did say whack. Well, wax would be plural with the WACS. Crimminian says, that was Army. Can't recall what the Marine version was called. Ooh, yeah, the Women's Auxiliary Corps would have been specifically for the Army Corps. And let's see what else we got going on here. Kevin Godsmith said that's what she says. And Jimmy Neutron says, look at my post at 9:14. It's a good one. 9:14. Just see, Jimmy, look at my previous post. Oh, okay. I'm so you should just reposted it. I'm sorry, Jimmy. Jimmy Neutron says next time do some about tunes. It could be the intro, into the upcoming BK show, or the one on Filmation. That's an excellent idea. Do cartoon trivia, but I don't want to step on any toes. Let me confer with Dave because I don't want to step on any of his toes. And anyway, but that's a very good idea. It's a very good idea, Neutron Tom. Anywho, it looks like we're actually getting on that time. So I'm actually thinking we should probably want to think about wrapping things up here. But I just want to say I had a lot of fun with you folks tonight, by the way. I'm always glad. Now, I've been on 3 times this week. Well, once was because Ian couldn't make it on Monday. So because he couldn't make it, I kind of did one in his honor. Ooh, Emily Lewis says commercial trivia thrash. Here's one. All right. Here's one, guys. How about I give the premise of the commercial and you tell me what the product was? How about that? Of a retro area, do 70s and 80s and that type of thing. Oh, number dude says you're the man, Thrash. Thank you. No, you're the man. Tug says good night. All yes to you too. Or jingles. But yeah, I'll give you the jingle or a synopsis of the commercial, and you tell me what the product is. I like that. But anyway, I don't want to get too far off topic. I want to thank all you guys for joining us tonight. I have so much fun with you guys, and I appreciate you guys taking time out of your evening to come blab with me. I had a lot of fun. I always have fun with these. I'm glad you guys have fun. Hopefully we can get a bigger audience down the road and have even more fun with even more friends. But for right now, I just want to say thank you all very, very, very much. Retro Nerd Girl has some stuff going on. Lance is already gone, I'm afraid, but Retro Nerd Girl does have some stuff going on this weekend. Watch along with The Last Starfighter and I think a live chat too. So you can check out her channel and get the deets there for the notifications. But other than that, I want to thank you guys. Have a great weekend. I'm sure I'll have something going on with uh, ENC Monday, and don't forget next Wednesday I'll be doing the filmation with Dave, BK, and Pat. But until then, be good, be safe, be careful, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all again very, 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 very soon. Peace.